Yo, YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to the Jonathan Hassinger channel. I, of course, am your host, John Hassinger. For this out-of-theater reaction to Superman. James Gunn, written and directed, starring David Corensweat, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult. The first movie installment into the new James Gunn-led DCU. Of course, the first anything in the DCU was the animated show on HBO Max called Creature Commandos, which I 100% recommend checking out. It's great, sort of little Suicide Squad-y, but not really. Guys, I saw this movie Thursday night. And then I saw it again Friday. And I can't wait to see it again. You're going to hear this over and over and over, and I wish I could come up with a better way to say it, but this is the Superman movie we've all been waiting for, because he's Superman in the first second of the movie. Even when he's Clark Kent, he's really still being Superman, except for when he has the glasses on and the hair all weird. He is not Superman. He's Clark Kent. He lowers his voice. He's very analytical and kind of super dorky and nerdy. Not funny, but just a nerd. And he's the best. I loved Christopher Reeves. I just want to see so much more of David Corensweat playing Superman. Not just because of the performance, but because who is writing this Superman. And the line in the movie that it's just not going to leave me is, maybe that is the new punk rock. Kindness. Kindness is the new punk rock. You know, it's not cool to be nice anymore. It's cool to go on the internet and talk shit. And Superman's like, no, it isn't. There's so many parts in this movie where I was remembering watching old Superman movies and thinking, I wish they would do something. I wish they did something like this in those movies, but they're doing them now in this new movie. The interview scene that I'm pretty sure is in one of the trailers, where they give you a minute of it, but it's a much longer scene, is just something I never thought they'd do in a Superman movie, but it felt so perfect for a Superman movie coming out now. You know, okay, you're all for good and you think you're doing good, but what about the other people that you did good that the people were fighting? How do you know they're not good too, and how come they didn't need your help? And Superman's well, come on, we all know. And Lois Lane's but we don't really know. And I love that whole argument of well, who are the good guys and the bad guys? Superman's well, I went and helped the good guys. And Lois is yeah, but that's just your opinion. How do you know? And he's I do know. They were going to kill me. And he's screaming. It's so good. And it's one of 3 individual conversations that Superman and Lois have throughout the movie that are just so beautiful. It's the first time for me where I really, really got emotionally invested in Lois and Clark. I wanted them to get along. You know, I wanted them to be happy. When they'd get in arguments, I'd get upset. It's great. And then in the middle of the movie, not to give too much away, this is kind of a mild spoiler review. I'm going to try and kind of keep all the swerves and the twists under wraps. But there is a big twist kind of at the beginning of the second act that, again, they've never done in a Superman movie. And I kept waiting for them to be oh, no, the bad guy's lying. That's not real. But then they kind of triple down on confirming this twist, this swerve, that it's real. And it puts Superman in a spot where he's it's not true, but I can't disprove it. And it is true, but it's not true. It was really the best new take that I've ever seen on the whole Superman origin story. You know, it's pretty much the same, except for this one plot twist that kind of changes the whole direction of Superman. And this second conversation him and Lois have she kind of expresses like, I don't really care what this bad news is, because I know you and you're good, and I don't think that, I'm trying not to give it away here, but Lois kind of supports him without even questioning it. So that was amazing. And at the end of that scene, he kind of says like, I love you, Lois, and I should have told you this so long ago, like, I just love you. And then he just is like, okay, I gotta go save my dog, and he leaves. And then at the end of the movie, after the conflict has been resolved, Lois is kind of down there, like she just comes out of a building where she was hiding, and all the fighting is over and everything's safe, and Superman flies down and he's like, hello, Miss Lane. And she's like, hi, Superman. And he's like, I would love to give you an interview right now. I'll give you all the behind the scenes. And she's like, okay, we can talk over here. And they like walk into this like subway that's like no one's in it anymore, and they just start making out. And I was like, yes, that's what you would do if you've been in a relationship for like 3 months. You know, that honeymoon phase is really just pure lust. And they're kissing, and then they start flying, and the camera backs up, and you can see them flying. And Lois says, I love you too, Clark. Completing the whole 3-part conversation that they have where we're so different, but it doesn't matter because we just love each other. And, man, so that was just, for the first time for me in a Superman movie, I fell for the Lois and Clark couple, the Clois. Another part that crushed me, his parents. Now, I know that his parents were, completely unknown actors. You know, in other iterations of Superman, we have like these iconic actors, you know, in their 60s and 70s, playing Clark's parents, you know, in Kansas, in Smallville. You know, Sally Field and Martin Sheen, Kevin Costner, and Diane Lane, I think. So big names. I've never seen Ma and Pa Kent, these actors playing them. I've never seen them before. And James Gunn kind of like wrote all their dialogue and then called Richard Christie from the Howard Stern show and said, hey, have your parents get this point across the same way with all their like Southern slang and lingo. And that's what he used for when Ma and Pa Kent were talking. And it just made it feel even more real, on top of the fact that these are like completely unknown actors. And there is a scene where Pa Kent, who like later on you learn he's kind of like the mush mouth, like just romantic, hopeless romantic, like just loves his kids and is just so emotional, where Ma Kent is kind of like the sergeant, the general of the family, like, I washed your boots, I'll go get them. She calls him Mush, because at one time he's trying to tell Clark, you know, what all these people say, it doesn't matter. Whatever your parents told you, it's not their place to tell you who you're supposed to become. Your decisions and your actions define who you are. And I've never been more proud. And dude, I am trying not to cry right now, replaying this scene in my head, because it is an out of nowhere gut punch emotional line delivery by this unknown Pa Kent. That's just, I don't know how they got it. I don't know how James Gunn said, okay, that's a take, we're done. Because it's so quick and it just triggers you to be proud of your children. And man, it's just beautiful. Now on to like the fun stuff. Mr. Terrific is one of the coolest characters. I know exactly why James Gunn put him in this movie, because he's sort of the Yondu as far as his superpower set goes. Like, he can stand in one place and his superpower can take care of a whole bunch of enemies around him, like Yondu's Red Arrow. He's like this genius kind of tech guy who can like confirm if maybe what Lex Luthor's putting on the internet is real or if it's been doctored. That's kind of a hint into the plot twist that happens early in the movie. Guy Gardner was perfect. Like, one sentence, he's an ass. The other sentence, you're like, all right, he is a good guy. And the other sentence, he's an ass. The other sentence, he's a good guy. I loved Hawk Girl, because every time she would come in, she would screech like a hawk, you know, like, ah! But it sounded like a real hawk. The 3 Justice League members or Justice Society members, or actually Justice Gang members, there's an argument over the name throughout the whole movie. I just loved their like comic relief, where like most of the time they didn't really need Superman's help, and sometimes he just doesn't even help them, and they're like fighting right next to him, and he's just like, well, they got it, they don't need me. I loved them. Metamorpho, another character that kind of Superman bumps into when they capture him. I mean, it's like everything they do with the characters, you're like, oh, I hope they do this. And then they do it. And then sometimes you're like, oh, I wasn't even thinking of that. They do that throughout the whole movie. And finally, my biggest worry, my biggest concern, my biggest like, oh man, this is such a weird character to do. You know, like Lex Luthor, he's tough. He's a tough character to not seem like, all right, he's the big villain guy. Dude, Nicholas Holt's portrayal of him made me believe so quickly that he's just jealous of Superman. Like, he's a guy who just wants all the praise that Superman gets, and Superman really doesn't do much. He's not like a genius like Lex Luthor is. I love how they call it Luthor Core. I love how he's basically hacked how to defeat Superman in battles after studying him for 10 years. And dude, there's so many moments in this movie where you gotta remember they're trying to build a new world. So characters have to be doing a thing, mention a thing that also informs the audience oh, okay, this is just a normal thing to expect now. I as a person who watches movies a little different than most people, I am looking for things like that and noticing things and appreciating oh man, he just seamlessly weaves in this exposition, but it's really just part of a natural conversation that a character's having. I really love that, thought it was genius, and enjoyed it. Now, dude, guys, this movie's over 2 hours. It feels like 90 minutes. It flies by, and then here we go, big spoiler warning. In the final 2 minutes, the battle's over, Luthor gets arrested, and the robots, Superman's back in the Hall of, or in the, what's it called? He's back in the Fortress of Solitude, and the robots are fixing him, and they're like, hey, just so you know, your cousin returned. And Superman looks over, and Supergirl comes walking out from a back room, and she's like, yo, dude, why did you change the code on the front door? I had to sneak in the back door. And where's my dog? And Crypto comes flying over and tackles her and is picking her up and slamming her into the ground. And she's just laughing. And she's all disheveled. And Superman kind of is looking. It's not like he's looking at the camera, but he's talking to the robot. But he really feels like he's talking to us. And he's like, yeah, she's been partying on red sun planets because it's really not that easy to get drunk here on the yellow sun planets. And so that's why she's all disheveled. She goes and parties and gets bombed on red sun planets where she doesn't have superpowers. But as she's walking out, as he's done explaining all that, she just yells to him, thanks for watching my dog, bitch. And the movie ends because he's smiling watching these videos of his home videos from his life on Kansas. The post-credit scenes are mostly just jokes. There's no setup in them. I mean, there's sort of a setup, but they've been setting it up throughout the whole movie. But him and Mr. Terrific, they are hilarious because Superman is this emotional guy and Mr. Terrific is basically Spock. So their interactions are just wonderful. yeah, guys, it's the Superman movie we've been waiting for. He is basically Superman the whole movie. Everyone shows up. Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan, is the best Lois Lane. Well, I don't know if she's the best Lois Lane, but she is the best Lois with Superman, with Clark Kent. I don't want to take any away from Margot Kidder, who was awesome as Lois, but Rachel Brosnahan was just as good, and I liked her even more as like Superman's kind of counterpart. You know, she's so cynical, doesn't trust anyone, and he loves everybody, finds the good in everything. It's just wonderful, and now, I mean, it's Monday morning, and 200 million worldwide. That means it's a massive success. They've already basically, well, they're like, a week away from breaking even, and it really means that we're gonna get this DC universe. Like, we're gonna get the Swamp Thing movie, we're gonna get Supergirl, we're gonna get Batman, the Brave and the Bold, we're gonna get the Lanterns TV show. It's looking great for this DCU, and I just can't be more pumped for James Gunn because I love everything he does. Let me know what you guys think. If you haven't seen it, when are you gonna go see it? When did you see it? If you've seen it already, and what did you think? Did you like it? If you didn't like it, let me know why. But if you did, let me know why. Because I just have like a million reasons why I love this movie. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week. I gotta go.